Welcome to the Vigor Life Podcast, a source of inspiration, lessons, stories, skill sets, mindsets, and strategies to invigorate and expand all areas of your life. Let's go. What's going on? Luca here with the Vigor Life Podcast. We're back. Today, we're in the studio. This is not a studio. this is my office, but I just wanted to say studio because that shit sounds better. With my ace boom coons, Theo,
hey,
the superhero. There's a lot of AKAs, but the superhero body.
Keep going.
Bowie, yep, and Cody, boom, McBroom.
You already know,
because if you don't have a nickname, then you're not special. But anyways, like these guys are my family, are my team. They're my they're people I want to kick in the head a lot of times. But they're also the driving force behind a Vigor ground. Like the whole team's not here right now because this is kind of a time when some people can't make it. But I do have these studs over here. And today, we're going to dig into a lot of different topics. Some that I didn't even know. They say, hey, what we're going to talk about today. I was like, I don't know. We're going to talk about stuff. So, but, the cool thing is that both of these guys, when they started at Vigor, they started as interns. And they made a big transformation by themselves as far as like body and life and everything. And I'll just start on both ends because you got the different ends of the spectrum. Like Theo was I wish we could plug in like a before picture of this guy. It's like a stick figure, man. So he put on like 50 pounds, about 50 pounds in a year and a half, muscle.
That's crazy.
And it is muscle because like the before and after picture, like his abs pop out more when he put on 50 pounds than it did before. And while Cody, is like if I had his little prom picture in his white suit,
white and
pink. But how much weight did you lose from that picture?
Probably about the same, man.
About
50 pounds,
50
just
pounds?
going the opposite way, yeah.
50 pounds up, 50 pounds down.
Mm-hmm.
But, both made huge transformations. And honestly, I'm proud of these guys beyond. Because we always talk about, it's not about what you do, it's about who you become. None of these transformations happen in like a 12-week program, And obviously they got results in that time frame. But it was a year and a half, for both of you guys. And to where it's basically a way of life now. And so I'll start off because I think insights. I think one of the best things that you can do when you see success somewhere is just to kind of like, you've heard it like follow the clues.
Right.
But get insights, man. I love talking to people of all walks of life that are successful in some area of life. And the thing is like if somebody's got a great relationship and great relationship with their kids or whatever, like I want to hear about it. Like what do they do? What are the things that they do on a daily basis and habits that have helped them become that? If it's financial success, if it's success with transforming their body, their mind, like I always want to get insight. So with these guys, obviously it's close to home, man, because we're a team. But I still think it's important to dig in. What for you, Theo? Putting on 50 pounds of muscle. And actually, what I want to ask you first is like, because we talked about this, you think most people are like, oh well, losing weight is a big, which it is a big deal, but putting on muscle is
just hard.
It's harder. I would say it's even harder to do, in a quality way. But what were your, I would say, frustrations? How did you feel, when you didn't, when you were skinnier? Because like I think people don't think about that, right? But you had some, I would say, confidence and self-esteem issue.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. I always like when we hooped and stuff. Like I always wanted to be on the shirts team because obviously my frame was super wiry. I looked like Tayshaun Prince, even worse.
Wore the medium shirts
yeah,
to look extra large, man.
But more from like the nutrition standpoint, I think was my biggest battle because obviously I was like 150 pounds and eating a lot, or what Cody told me to eat. And when I read the Renegade Diet with Jason Ferrugia, he was like, man, you got to eat like a horse. And I was like, okay, well, I was eating to the point where I just like wanted to throw up, but I knew that I had to keep putting it down. And there was some times where
today I'm gonna stop you right there. If anybody knows Theo, eating like a horse, he made that part of his lifestyle. And you see this guy putting down. And obviously, it's everybody's got a different body type and a different engine. But I came in with I think it's like the Larry and Steve's cookies, which are delicious. And I came in, I had extra one. I went to Cody. I was like, hey man, you want this? He's like, nah man, like that's all good. I'm gonna kind of make this up a little bit, edit it. He didn't really say this, but it sounds fun. I was like, Hey, you want this? Throw it out, man. I'm not watching my figure, man.
Hey, I was thinking it.
I
was
had
thinking
my
it.
450 calorie meal today. My macros on point. So no, Theo walks in. I'm like, yo, you want this cookie? Oh yeah. Like this dude probably had like 17 pancakes today.
Yeah,
like,
I had 5 pancakes and
he said
4
a chicken wrap
sausages.
bacon.
Yeah.
So that's so like put it this way: you want to put on muscle, eat like Theo.
Yeah.
You want to drop 20 pounds, don't eat.
Hey,
like
yeah,
Theo.
it's funny when we go out to eat together too, because it's just completely opposite.
Completely different.
Yeah.
But
it's again, man, like it was just, that was probably the hardest part. And then of course, like, how my clothes fit, like I didn't feel like, I was really rocking them well, even though, on the hangers or in the store it looked good. And I was like, man, I'm about to, I'm gonna pull that out. And it just didn't. Yeah.
I need some shoulder pads for that.
So now it's, now it's different. I feel definitely more confident, like when I go out and, I feel like I inspire a lot of people. I definitely I'm getting loud, or, I've been loud on social media, put myself out there, both, mind and body, spilling my thoughts, just talking on camera, of course, filming different workouts and stuff like that, and just getting people fired up. That's kind of the person who I've become.
And it's crazy because, from my standpoint, looking from the outside in sometimes, Theo a year and a half ago would probably be having a lot more pauses, in like even talking right now, right? I mean, it's like we did some videos and stuff and a lot more or less confident. But, how not only with you, but, with your clients, how big of a difference do you see, when people start changing their body, like in their confidence, right? Yeah. And we'll talk about this too. We've got some great examples, but it's humongous, right? I mean, it's like you go like, man, I look better, I feel better, I have more confidence to say things, be out there. And it carries over into all areas of your life. You're more confident being on social media, more confident asking people about stuff, right? For people that are dating, we got great. You got some awesome examples and clients where
Definitely.
It's like it completely transformed their life on the end of relationships, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like such a small thing, and I think that fitness is a great vehicle for transformation. Because transformation is more than just the body, obviously, but the vehicle of, man, I do things, I see my body's change, I believe in myself more, I'm motivated, I can see the changes, and then it carries over to every other area of life, right?
Yeah.
And and on your end, I wanted to see like what was the big shift for you? And same thing, I'm kind of from the outside looking in, but at the same time knowing you guys for so long, and it's been great to see you transform in every way. But when you came here, you already kind of have made somewhat of a transformation,
right?
But that whole gap from where you were to where you are now, man, I talk a little bit about the more so on the end of like your mindset and your confidence and self-esteem, and what were the things that scared you held back on, like all the stuff that you didn't want people to know,
right?
Because this is real shit, so we want to keep it real here,
Night and day difference. Obviously, I think like when Theo said being on the shirts team, for me, it was like avoiding the situations of like going to the pool and shit like that, because I never wanted to take my shirt off, period, And I think I was always like the funny guy, the loud guy and everything, and I used that to kind of mask like how I actually felt and my confidence. And man, the big shift was for me is no shit. I looked in the mirror and I saw stretch marks coming in, and that's when everything changed for me, and that's when I really got on this. I was 17 when I made the big change, but like when I had that moment, I was thinking I was turning 18 because it was that summer after I graduated high school. So I was about 18 years old, and then I really made that big change. So like you said, I made a big transformation before I got here with Tim Vagan at Highline and going to school for fitness and stuff. But man, I think as far as a mindset is where it shifted a lot for me here, is my confidence kind of showed out. You guys like mentoring me and stuff. And then it got to a point where I felt skinny, you know what I mean? I wanted to build this muscle, you know what I'm saying?
Tell them why, what happened is Cody would come in and pretty much for months on end,
we call him McLittleback.
Cody No Back, Cody McLittleback, Cody, and so pretty much like I made Cody a program that was like 80% back.
Yo, I went to TJ Maxx. I'll never forget this. I went to TJ Maxx and I bought a pull-up bar for my door, and my door frame was all jacked up. My dad was heated because I was doing, every time I walked down the hall, I would do 5 pull-ups, and I mean, that's a lot of volume throughout the day, but it worked. Every day I was doing pull-ups on top of the back specialization program that Luca had me on.
Okay, so tell me that you weren't mad. No, because here's a story.
No, they motivated me into it.
I want to make an example, because we'd be at the gym and like we'd go at Cody hard, and Cody would be like pissed off. And rightfully so. Now, here's the thing. There's a big lesson here. There's a big lesson because, I'm proud of like both of these guys, and I push these guys a lot. And honestly, they push me to be better, man. But, imagine how many times in your life you get pissed off or angry or, right? I mean, shit, like every day is like somebody makes you mad, the boss, people are making fun of you. The reality is like you can take that anger, you can take that darkness, and you can direct it into a negative, right? And you can judge people and point fingers and go, before Tyson drinks my energy drink here, you and become a spiral of negative stuff. Like you went like, man, fuck these guys. Like and you went and did work.
Yeah.
And man, like 3 months later, we kind of had to start taking that name away slowly.
Yeah,
6 months later, we were like, man, we can't use that anymore. So we start messing with you in other ways.
In other ways, yeah. But it's all fun and games, obviously. But
yeah, I mean, but I think that there's a huge lesson here. Like we're all gonna face resistance, whether it's jokes or fun or pressure of the reality.
Most definitely, yeah.
What do you do with it?
Yeah.
And
I looked at the long term of it too, and like I was gonna say this when Theo was talking, is like, yeah, he put on 50 pounds, and people see it and they're like, damn, that's crazy. I want to do that too, but they won't commit to the process. Right. And I know for me is I actually wrote about this in my newsletter the other day. I was talking about, like I just said, I felt skinny, and I came here and I was training with you and Hugh. And Hugh is like probably the buffest Asian guy I've ever seen in my life. So that dude's jacked as hell. You're obviously big. And I was getting frustrated because I didn't have abs. I didn't have like the physique I wanted. I didn't have the size I wanted. And you turned around, you're like, yo, I've been training for 15 years. Like, how long you been training? And I was like, well, shit, like 2. You know what I mean? So, and I set these goals, and now I've been training for 5, almost 6 years. And now I see the goals like unfolding that I wanted back then. But I had to commit to that lifestyle of this.
And it's crazy because that leads back, right? I almost want this, if we say, hey, what is this podcast about? It's about like not about what you do, but who you become, right? You guys have became that, and to a degree, it's like, it's almost, I mean, you could wake up in the middle of the night. It's like, man, I got to train, right? I got to eat a certain way, and I think that's the biggest lesson to really take from that is, we are what we repeatedly do. So then, excellence is not a trait. It's a habit essentially, right? So, and I probably kind of didn't get that quote to the T, but it's not about what you do for the next 8 to 12 weeks or what you do really hard for like a little period of time and then don't. It's about what you consistently do day in and day out, and it becomes a part of you.
For sure.
And leading back to that, like I wanted to touch on how big of a part, because like you guys both talked about it. Like I know I've been through it. Everybody's been to a point where there's things that you won't do because of your body image, right? And I think there's a huge importance, first on like, to this, like I say, I talk about it, but it's like, and it may sound foo-foo to some people, but I want you to take this seriously, how you treat yourself. Like even if you don't look how you want to look, to where you treat yourself good enough, you know what I mean? And not beat yourself up. Because the tendency is then what happens, right? You said, well, man, I didn't want to take my shirt off. And honestly, a lot of people will actually avoid social interactions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
I literally would avoid going, like we used to kick it at this place called Lake Taps. That was where everybody met up because it was like the big lake over by where I used to grow up. And I avoided that shit like the plague, man. Like summer after summer, and it killed me. And I remember the first summer I went out there and hung out with everybody, and I was so like happy to be there. And then like the feeling that gave me was unbelievable. And that's the same thing as like commit to this lifestyle of results isn't because I have abs. It's because the way the abs make me feel, my confidence, my energy, like my swag, whatever it may be.
Your capacity, man.
Exactly.
It's like, the thing is,
power.
We're social creatures, and like, removing yourself from, I always say, man, like, what are the things that make you most happy in the world? And it's like, well, doing things of purpose, whether it's in business or charity or giving and stuff like that. And then it's like experiences, learning, and spending time with people I love, and doing all those things.
Right.
So think about it. If you take away the human factor and spending time with the people that you love and creating experiences, man, like that's a humongous chunk of like, well-being and fulfillment and happiness in your life. Yeah. So if you're not confident about you, and the thing is, you can have let's go back. Like you can have 6-pack abs and still not be confident and still kind of
absolutely.
beat
I
yourself
always
up.
had a 6-pack, but they look like little pieces of gum. I was super skinny.
And I think that kind of leads into the next point of, why they want to do the Vigor Life podcast, and like, what do we do here at Vigor that goes so far beyond like the, hey, this is the best training program for you based on your goals and your schedule and your lifestyle, and here's the best, here's the nutrition, let's work with you one-on-one.
Yeah.
Through the course, there's no like blueprint and generic stuff, like let's work with you and guide you, but then are you working on your mental health?
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and you guys, it's a great example because both of you, so me and Steve Krebs, my best friend and partner in the pack business, we ran Resurrection Weeks, which were pretty much 4-day deep dive and all-inclusive events for men to transform in every way possible, body, being, balance, and business, and which was inspired by my mentor and friend Garrett J. White. But both Cody and Theo came out to that, and the things that we did there, like so much of it is obviously based on your own thoughts, like what you think about yourself,
right.
Where you put your attention, right, where you put your focus, and how much that guides your life. And like, and tell them, we'll start with you. What did that do? And not just those 4 days, but in general, how did that help you change, from a standpoint of mindset and how you see yourself, how you grow,
I think that, for me, it was being aware that I have control of, I am where I am right now is a result of a choice that I've made or choices that I've made, right?
Or did make.
Right, or didn't make. So, there's nobody to blame, and I can't blame anybody else for, me not being, exactly where I want to be. So, I think the biggest thing from that week was me accepting where I'm at and then saying, okay, I'm at point A, here's point B, that's where I want to go. And then, it's up to me, it's on me to create a strategy and make that happen, right? So, we talked about it a lot in San Diego, having that laser focus, right, and going through the 90-day outcomes. But the biggest thing, again, is accepting what is, and that it kind of goes back to my childhood where I wasn't very confident, you know what I mean? And, I was always, an athlete, and I excelled and stuff like that, but I was always super hard on myself because of, what other people expected, and I felt like I had to please them. So it was, it was that outside judgment, but I wasn't able to accept it. I wasn't able to accept who I was at that point in time and understand that it's a process and that, I can get better. I can control the outcome.
That's a great insight. And it's funny. We talked about this in one of the other podcasts, which was, accepting responsibility for your life and taking back your power, right? It's like, there's no more like, well, it's his fault or him or that or this, that, but it's just taking back your power. And on your end, Cody, like what was your biggest experience, or like how did you, put it this way, why it's so important for that you guys went through it is because your insights on and the struggles in your life, how you can then relate better to obviously clients.
Right.
But what did you get out of that?
Man, I think the big one for me is it always relates around fear and judgment, but for me it was inside, like fearing what I could and couldn't do, and then the judgment of others if I failed or even if I succeeded, and then judging myself personally, like, and doubting myself. And I think just the fact that we all came together and you feel so alone, and then you realize that every single one of these guys feels exactly the same in their life, and there's obviously a little bit of differences in there, but you can all come together and be like, man, I feel you, and you can see that it's true. And the ability for me to apply that to clients is outrageous because they come in, they're like, well, I have this issue. You don't get it because you've never been like this. You've never thought this about yourself. And then it's like, no, actually I have. And then me having the confidence to like say, yo, I fucked up. I did this. I'm not perfect, and like own it, and then like show them how you can grow from that is, man, that's it's priceless.
That is like humongous, and I would just say in connecting, right, the empathy and compassion, and being able to be vulnerable, right? I want to bring this up because for the longest time, and I know you guys felt the same way, right? And a lot of it is how we're taught, is that we're taught a lot by the environment, by social structures, that vulnerability is weakness, where in reality vulnerability is strength.
Right.
And when you start sharing your struggles, people connect to you more, and it's like and then you don't have to be like, man, I'm alone. And it's like there's so many times I talk about this, and just in essence, you guys are entrepreneurs too, like, but in entrepreneurship and what we do, you're like, man, like nobody gets me. And being able to speak out loud allows other people to go like, man, I feel just like that.
Yeah.
And And just because, right, for me, like I've played pro sports for, a lot of my life. I disciplined myself from a young age when it came to fitness, right? Mm-hmm. So that was not a huge kind of problem. But other areas of my life, I completely fucked up.
Right.
Yeah. From relationships to, being in crime and all these dumb, things that taught me a lot of lessons. But, they're just the same. And the way I looked at it with clients and with anybody else that we're coaching is, well, yeah, they have something that's holding them back in this area of their life, but I have the same thing just in another area.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's really easy to become a hypocrite. I'm like, oh man, like why not just doing that? And I think that's what was really powerful, and I think that's what's really powerful. And you have to go through it. Like you have to go through it to be able to help people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, how do you know what I mean? Like if you don't know what you don't know and you don't experience it, how do you actually connect and open up and feel other people's pains and just listen and not become, you guys have heard of the positivity trap, right? In training, the positivity trap is something that comes up all the time. And I want to talk about it. It's like, you come to me and you're like, man, I'm having a shitty day. My car's, I'm going to use a real example.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Cody's car got messed up. He's getting it fixed or whatever. And as my foot hurts, I ate some chicken. It tasted shitty and I threw up. I'm just making shit up now. But the point is, and like, the positivity trap is the trainer that's always happy, which is fucking bullshit. But oh man, just think about the positive things in life.
Yeah.
Right.
Go. My life is awesome. I love training 16 hours a day and not seeing my family. It's so cool, like because I get to help people. And it's like bullshit. Yeah. And the thing is, the other person doesn't connect to you because it becomes like,
that's not real.
That's not real. Like, man, just be. It's fantasy land. Like it's like everybody goes through it. So being able to express all those emotions, somebody go like, man, I hear you. Like not even like I understand or like just I hear you. I'm just here. I'm just listening. You know?
Don't fear that they're gonna judge you either. And that was like what changed for me, right?
Yes.
Like I always was like, well, I have to be that positive trainer. I have to put this front on, or else people are gonna know why that I'm really struggling. Who's gonna listen to me if I'm struggling? Well, turns out more people listen to me when I'm struggling because they understand that I get it too. Yeah. And I mean, for me as like a writer and doing the online stuff, man, that like changed everything because I started writing so much more just real and raw and relevant, like we talk about, right? Yeah. And my first thought was like, I can't write about this stuff because people are gonna judge me. People won't work with me anymore. People won't like me. And when I came back, I was like, you know what? This is who I am. I'm just gonna be real about it. And what happened? I made more people's lives change. I made more money. I got more clients. I was happier. I had better relationships. All from just like no judgments, just like fuck it, I'm gonna be me.
And here's so I want to bring it back because great point on that sharing those things. What I will say, with living the code, and you guys know that's from Warrior and Wake Up Warrior movement. Being real, raw, relevant, and ruthlessly committed to results. The key is like to not if you're just expressing all your problems, then you're just whining, right? But it's like you're stating what it is, you're stating your emotion with it, but then there's a lesson, right? Yeah. And that's the key is like there's always a lesson at the end of the trouble, and that's where you can connect, where it's like, man, I went through this, it hurt, man, like it made me cry, I'm like crushed me, I felt alone, and the lesson I learned from it was, and then whatever, you state the lesson and say how it's going to help them get results, just like how you figured out is going to help you get results.
Right.
See, now you're using your pain and you're using your experience and your struggles to help somebody go like, yeah, this is what happened. But if you just say that, then people go like, okay, shit, what now? But you go like, this is the lesson and this is what you can do about it. Like that's what
I think the most powerful thing is being able to like do that and like live the code on a daily basis trains you into that mindset. So I know growing up, I was always a hothead, and if something negative happened, everything is screwed up. My day is ruined. I'm gonna be a dick to people. I was just cranky. I was angry. I'd pop off super quick. And going through all these different things with you guys, like my car broke down. I'm on 405 north on the side of the freeway for the second time in a week. And I instantly just went into positive focus, like, okay, what can I honestly learn about this? And then I ended up laughing because the lesson was obvious the first time it happened, and I just ignored it, right? But because my mind goes to that place, I'm always learning, always growing, and then I don't like mope and get negative about shit.
There's another side to that too, because you can always turn a negative into a positive, but for me, the big thing too was accepting my accomplishments and appreciating them, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that stems from childhood. I can remember scoring, multiple like 40-point games, and my dad was just like, he's like, man, nobody likes a ball hog. And I was like, man, I dropped 40 something. I mean, we lost, but I was like, ran up to him and I was like, man, I dropped 40, and that's what that's kind of what came out of it. But again, like, I took the fun out of it. He didn't take the fun out of it. He was just trying to push me to be better, like, be a more complete ball player. But, that kind of, that took a toll on me, like in every other area. So like I've done, great things, but I was never able to appreciate it. You know what I mean?
And that's now I'll pull this out. As I don't even think this just as a coach. I mean, I think we're all coaches, whether it's to to kids, to our friends sometimes. You know what I mean? Whether it's mentoring an actual business or clients, we always come back to that. I always it's this double-edged sword. I always go like, where were you at a year ago, Theo? You know what I mean? It's just like, and you go like, man, yeah. Wow, I did a lot. Yeah. But you can always look at like the horizon, like, but I want to be here, right? And the thing is, it is like you need the goals to push you. I mean, it's like we're goal-driven, right, creatures. Mm-hmm. But we also need to, be able to look back and see what we accomplished. I know you guys see that a lot with, clients go like, man, they think about that picture in their head that's perfect, or like, the house that's perfect, or the bank account that's perfect, or whatever, and never really see how far they've come. Because no matter where you go, you're always going to set bigger goals. Like, that's the crazy part. Yeah. Like, sometimes I stop and I go like, man, like, you guys have grown like incredibly. I mean, like, Cody's beard has grown unbelievably. I mean, this guy's haircut now is just like, top notch.
Off the chain.
Like I wear my hat because like, this is what I got to work with. The nice, I get it, but the point being the point being is that it's important to both look back to see how much you accomplished, and it gives you confidence and power to move forward. Yeah. Because it's hard to, if you don't look back and see what you've done, how do you, get fired up to go like, man, I can do this.
If I can do that, I can do so much more.
Oh yeah. And I think it's really, it's a misconception that people look at, and I think it's important for us, as coaches and leaders, whether it's in the gym or online, whatever it may be, to speak the truth and go like, for you guys have been around me, like for the last, 2-3 months, I've been like overwhelmed out of my mind. Yeah. You guys have seen me look like shit, underslept, like stressed out because it's real, like to Monday's big D-Day, and, we're going to be buying a building. It's going to be, it's a humongous accomplishment. But, it's like the iceberg. People see the top, you don't really see what happens at the bottom. And I think it's important to share your struggles and then tell people how we overcame them. Right. You know what I mean? And by the way, there's somebody with us here today that we can't see. You can pick up Tyson real quick, Theo.
I'm here, boy.
So this guy is like this is like our ace boon coon, Tyson the dog. Tyson, you want to say something?
Baby boy, bark, speak. He's only 4 months. He don't know that yet.
Yeah, so that's our man. Like if you talk about being in a bad mood and having unconditional love of this guy in here that doesn't know what the fuck is going on and doesn't care.
He's in play mode
whatsoever.
Right now. Yeah.
But yeah, just tells you, man, it's like, he's pretty much here half the day in the gym and makes everybody's day better. And he's like literally pooped in front of my face, and
he pissed on Flo's foot.
Yeah, I mean,
and Flo couldn't even.
Yeah, you can't even get mad at the guy because like I wanted to get mad at the guy, and I'm looking and like he looks at me like basically just turd dumped right in front of me, and I was like, Tyson, and he just goes like this, he just looks at me like, bro, I had to poop. Bruh. And I did, yeah, and I just what am I gonna do? I mean, the guy, he's adorable. I was like, all right, man, whatever, you can, nobody else could shit in the gym, but Tyson can shit in the gym. So, but I guess that we're coming. Like I could talk with these guys for a long time because we've shared so many ups and downs and struggles and accomplishments. And I think that what we'll be doing is bring him on a lot because there's a lot of insights.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. If anybody wants to hire these guys for any modeling, call my number. But at the end of the day, there's great insights because on a daily basis, there's so much growth that happens here. Pretty much we do hundreds and hundreds of sessions a week with clients, and our Vigor family is, they are the most awesome people. Like, legitimately, we come in here and like you can't love not being here. It's not work. It's a mission. It's a movement. It's a lot more. And these guys committed to some things that are tough. Like a lot of people look for security, and in this place is a lot about growth. And actually, you know what? Let's finish off with that. I want to ask you guys, the reasons, like I said in the last time, right? When you give more value to security, I was a podcast and somebody asked like, hey, Luca, how do you overcome your fears, right? And one of the things I said, when you give more courage to security than you do when you give more value to security than you do courage, then you're going to always look for the safe thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, oh man, where can I be safe and not be pushed and not be exposed and not be persecuted, and at the same time, how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about being challenged versus being secure?
I think that I've grown, more than I ever thought that I would. I've always had big dreams and this vision of how I was always going to live my life. But when you actually put yourself through it and you experience it, you realize just how much work it is, and that on a daily basis that you have to work towards it.
Yep.
There's no off days, right? Because you're working on your own personal vision, your own personal growth, instead of just showing up every day and someone giving you a task list and saying, here, do that and get your work done and go home. I couldn't be a part of that. Not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but for me personally, that's just not how I see myself living my life. So again, like, security, it doesn't really mean that much to me because I feel that I can work to a point to where I will be secure for myself.
Exactly. And it goes back to what you said earlier, which is personal responsibility,
right,
and taking control of your life. You know what I mean? And that's what I think. Man, I have this, like I said, I would no judgment. It's my personal opinion that when people have personal responsibility and your performance is judged by your results,
yeah,
right? So when we sit down, it's like you can go like, well, I did a bit, and then we say, what's the results? Right. And you're like, man, that shines a light on the reality.
Yeah.
And every person, if they become empowered to do that, they can do just about anything,
yeah,
right? And definitely grow way more than if you're put into like, oh, here it is, here's your box, do this. Don't worry about, like, I'm not going to push you and challenge you, right? On your end, Cody, what's your experience with that? Or should I say, how do you feel about the challenges of versus the security part? Or
I think I've always had a dream of like what my lifestyle can be like, and if I go with the secure route, at the end of the day, somebody else is not only in control of my salary, because in my situation now, my hustle determines my salary, but it also determines my lifestyle. So if somebody can control how much I make because that's I'm in their secure position, then they also control what I can become. And like he said earlier, man, your actions speak the loudest for what you can do and who you can become and what you can create. But that's only if I stay in this kind of situation, I guess.
Yep.
And man, I love what I do too much to like. There's just so much potential and growth here, and
right,
and every single day is different. I have even if it's interactions with the same people, because I'm doing multiple sessions a week with the same clients. Like it's a different session every single time because the interaction is different, and it's not because the exercises are different. It's because the interaction.
And you know what? It's I can't remember who said this to me, but it's like every time you meet a person, right? They're a new person, and because they've gone through, they've had something new happen to them. In that moment, they're going through something,
right?
And like if somebody can, when people push, they grow from week to week.
Yeah.
Like you think about our conversations, how much they've changed over the last, years. I mean, it's just like a completely different conversation. Theo is just leaving to take care of Tyson. He's not mad that he's not in the conversation right now. But
I think like I gotta throw this in there. I've been talking about it a bunch lately ever since you said it to me, and I mean I've used it with a bunch of clients that that can relate to this as well. And again, it goes back to being real because I tell them my side of it and they respect that and they use it. Is when you told me your anxiety is your excitement. Like I use that quote in multiple newsletters already. I repeat it in my head over and over again because I was always notorious, like I said before, for doubting myself, fearing myself, and it would just cause anxiety and stress because I was worried about who I can become, if I can even become this thing. Like I have all these things on my plate that I'm trying to create right now within Vigor and within just the Boom Boom Performance thing, but I would get super anxious about it. But like you said, man, that's just my excitement. It's like what drives me are those things that are causing anxiety. And as soon as I was able to like associate those together, like literally, like I feel like I've been on fire the last few weeks alone just from that quote being replayed in my head.
I think a lot of people could relate to that too, because, you know, everybody wants success, right? But like once you reach a certain amount of success, you realize again, like how much work it takes, and like daily you have to go through that process, but it's more about sustaining it, right? So like, it's like, okay, one day might be like super overwhelming, like the gym, for example, right? Like moving into the new building, like your head looks like it's just going to pop sometimes, but at the same time, like, you know, it's worth it. But how many people out there, because I know that, you know, I can definitely relate to it, where it's like, you know, shooting these videos and expressing myself and putting myself out there, like to sustain that, right? And if you don't, someone's gonna call you out. And then, you know, it could be a hater. It could just be somebody who's trying to build you up. But again, like, you know, that's pressure. And again, some people fear that.
And it opens these new doors. And that's why we keep going with this. But you have to here's the thing, right? Because we're so connected to this, you know, to the social interaction we have in the social circles, you know, when you grow, right, you have to understand, and growth can be just, you know, let's not get it twisted that it's just money, because it's not. It's just like growing as a person, you know, what you do, who you become, like who you surround yourself with, all of these different things. When you grow, or when you change your body, a lot of times, right, you are going to be persecuted a lot of times. You might be pushed out of certain social circles because of the discomfort of like, oh, now you're big time, and you're doing
Hollywood,
this. Man, and the thing is, there's more dreams have been killed because of haters and what they say in their doubt than probably anything else in the world, right? When somebody has an idea, something that they're fired up about, and then another person goes like, man, that'll never work. And it kills you right then and there, you know what I mean? And you go, and you know, you're down on whatever, or you start doing great things, and people start going like, oh, like, well, we're gonna start pushing you out because, you know, you're different, or you make more, you're hanging out at the gym with these people and changing your life and whatever. And a lot of people will go back to being less because of that, and then resent for the rest of their life. So you got to be ready for it. Something I think enough people talk about, and you guys have experienced it in your, you know, with your friendships and, you know, who you're around now. It's like you start doing things. I've seen, you know, I think I'm gonna do a separate podcast on this. Like I've seen more hate, and sometimes, you know, not always directly. It's not a lot of people to say stuff directly to me, but indirectly I hear a lot of things, right? Where the more you grow, and it still hurts. I'm human, man. So it's like, you know, that stuff, like it shanks me. Like it's not like I don't care, but I always look at like, okay, at the end of the day, you know, what do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be around?
Right.
And that always overpowers, you know, that pain of like, hey, are they really looking out for me? Are they really, you know, there to serve my best interests like I am theirs? And that's important. Like be ready to be persecuted. Like be ready to be judged when you go and take on big things and you try to become more. And just know that it's worth it, like, because it's your life. It's not somebody else's life. You know, you said it best before, man. Like, I took that responsibility. Like, I'm not going to let somebody else's thoughts and feelings about how I'm doing, you know, pull me back. And that's very important. And it's also great why we always have these conversations, because this is where the growth happens. You know, and like, this is a lot, you know, I wanted to also shoot this podcast because we'll talk like this a lot when we meet. It's real. It's not like scriptured. It's not, I didn't want to have this like topic on like, hey, Cody, what do you think is the best meal plan? You know, go download our infographic or something, man. You know what I mean? But you know, I want to thank you guys, man. It's awesome. We're definitely going to do more of this.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, I'm proud of these guys in every way. Once we turn off the cameras, I'll probably give them some shit because it like didn't push goals enough or something like that. But you know, make sure, you know, this one went a little long, and I'm happy that it did because we covered a lot of great stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Vigor Life podcast. And if you're on iTunes, then make sure you go over to YouTube and see these pretty faces and beautiful haircuts apart from mine, and subscribe to the channel so that you are in the loop all the time. We will see you back with the next episode of Vigor Life Podcast. Peace out.
Deuces.
Deuces.